Hey, y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I've missed y'all. Welcome to Mission for Mental Health. I am your host, Jackie Robinson. Hey, you know what? It's been a minute. I missed y'all. Is everybody okay? How's everybody feeling? Y'all good? Let me know in the comments how you guys are doing. It's been a while. But I got a good guest for y'all, as I always do. I'm excited. What's been going on lately? I guess life has just been lifing. Everybody's just, everyone. It's so funny because I realized that which I've already known is God put me on this mission that I just never thought that I would be doing. And people have been reaching out to me and sharing with me what's going on in their lives and asking me, for advice on certain things. And it's just amazing on how God has been using me. It's just a trip, y'all. It's just like I said, it's just, you ever just went through this process where, you're starting to realize what your gifts are and not your gifts, what your purpose is. When you started to realize what your purpose is, that's where I am right now. I'm starting to realize my purpose. And it's, they always say you find your purpose through your pain. And I have started to find my purpose through my pain. And so, I'm thankful and I'm grateful God has is put me on this mission. Is it easy all the time? No. Do I have a great support system? Yes. But it's I'm just grateful. So anyway, I'm not gonna hold y'all up and talk about myself all day. I have a guest, y'all, and she was scheduled to come on a couple weeks ago, but you know, technical issues happen and things happen, and I see we might be going through. I got her in the backstage, and so it looks like she's trying to set up a little something. She's coming along. She's coming along. Nod your head for me when you're ready, Kiyona. Nod your head. You ready? All right. So coming to the stage, one of my sorority sisters, y'all, that I met in Houston. I'm gonna bring her on because y'all know I can go on and on and on talking about me, and this ain't about me. So hold on, here we go. Here we go. All right, girl, how you doing?
I'm
Can you hear
good.
me?
How are you?
Good,
Yes.
good. All right, I can hear you and everything. You're a little bit higher than me, so I'm gonna lift up a little bit too, just so we look a little even. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was trying to,
You
you
trying to be
know,
like, okay, now you gonna go up, you gonna go down. Which one you doing?
I was trying to center it, girl. I should have just left it alone.
It happens. It happens. Okay, you good? All right, so I'll slide down a little bit. There we go. All right. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today, Sora?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Absolutely. So, y'all, this is Kiyona. I'm gonna read her bio so I don't spend a whole lot of time just chatting. I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about her. And let's see, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Somebody text me. I was ready. Here we go. Kiyona Duncan, a happily married mother of three, graduated from York Catholic High School in 1992 and received her Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice from Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. Kiyona has worked. She in Pennsylvania, y'all. She ain't even. She not here in Georgia with us. She in Pennsylvania. Kiyona has worked in the field of child welfare, human service, and criminal justice for over 25 years. She retired from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, uh, Pennsylvania PA State Probation and Parole in 2018. You have to tell me about that. Working as a probation, were you a parole officer or a probation officer?
Yes, parole and then parole supervisor.
Wow. She is an active member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Mu Nu Sigma chapter in York, Pennsylvania. Shout out to the sorors. Kiyona is now pursuing a master's in business administration at Lincoln University and will graduate in the summer of 2025. Kiyona leads a mental health walk for women in the community every summer. Kiyona is the proud owner of Women Supporting Women LLC, and I'll make sure to put that information in the I'll put that information in the chat so people can check you out. Supporting Women LLC, whose mission is to support women through empowerment, self-sufficiency, and spirituality. In her spare time, Kiyona enjoys spending time with her family, dogs, doing community service, and attending church. That sound about right?
Excellent.
So I had put this all call out a while back, and I was asking for a guest to be on the show, and you reached out. And as a matter of fact, when we were in Houston for Boulay, as the others refer to as the sorority party, but we ain't gonna call no names. While we was at the sorority party, we connected there, and I started to share with you a little bit about my podcast, and you were saying that you wanted to be a guest. So my curiosity is, what made you say yes that you wanted to be on the show?
Well, first it was just your personality. Something really drew me to you and our other soror that we met. The whole time that I was in Boulay, I told my husband that every person that I met with, it was very intentional. Like everyone had something, and no, and as you know, we were from all over the world. Like I
I
mean,
love the world.
yes, all over the state. So we
Yeah.
didn't. I mean, it was Pennsylvania, it was New York, So we didn't even know each other, and the Lord just kept bringing people into my spirit, and I was actually going through something. I couldn't even concentrate on Boulay and having a good time because I was so focused on negativity that was happening at home. But I just kept running into individuals, and everyone just had something and had put something in my spirit. And when I ran into you, I was telling you that I was getting ready to relocate in a few years, and I was interested in moving to Georgia. And I don't even know, like we just got to talking. Your personality, I was like telling you, like I was loving the hair and the glasses, and somehow we got into mental health, and I was like, wow, look at God. And I just,
Mhm.
I was like, girl, you just don't know my story. And I said, we got to connect. And we made sure we took
Absolutely.
pictures, we got numbers. That's one thing people do a lot. Oh, call me,
Mhm.
girl, go on
Mhm.
Facebook, do this, do that. No, we got numbers, we got email, we made sure. And then that night I talked to my husband, I told him all about you, and it was just such a blessing. That trip was such a
Mhm.
blessing to me. So
Yes.
I'm just at a point in my life now that for so long it was such a taboo and such a negative connotation, and a negative connotation that I put on it myself, not so much as people around me. And at this point in my life, like if it hasn't killed me, it's my testimony. So I feel like I need to tell the world about it.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned that you were going through some things before you came to Boulay, and you couldn't really focus on Boulay, and but one thing I love about, and I'm new in the sorority, so I one thing I've learned, that and not just even with the sorority, it's so many people that I come in contact with who are like me, or going through something like me, or experiencing mental health in some form or fashion. And you
Mhm.
just mentioned there was a negative connotation on it, and you were saying, yeah, negative. Are you referring to a negative connotation to mental health?
Yes.
And everyone that I meet, I don't care what space or what room I walk in, I just let God lead me to people, and we just start talking, and I share a little bit of my story, and everyone is shocked, of course. And then I start telling them about how I started the podcast and why I started the podcast. And you are one of the reasons why, because I believe deep down in my soul that if my daughter didn't believe or be ashamed of her diagnosis, that she'd be home today and probably taking care of it. So when you
Mhm.
say that you put this negative connotation on your own diagnosis, talk to me about that.
So I will always say that I've always felt supported in some kind of way, like through my family or through friends. Um, but with mental illness, a lot of times, specifically depression, you isolate yourself. So the mind is a miraculous thing, but it can also be a dangerous thing. So
Mm,
when you isolate yourself away and you hear those thoughts continuously, and there's no one there to break those thoughts, you tend to start believing those thoughts, and that's been my process. I know that now that I've suffered with I've always been a very intuitive person, extra emotional. I'm an empath, definitely. Um, so not only do I hold, my emotion, I hold others' emotion.
mm,
Um, and I don't think anyone really knows that about me except when I tell them that. There's a few people recently that I ran into that have a spiritual gift that they can see certain things, and they kind of gave me some validity with that. But being an empath, the bad part of it is, not only are you dealing with your emotion, but you can feel when others' emotions are not intact also. So
mhm,
you tend to pull those in to yourself while trying to minister to yourself, but yet you're bringing on more stress. So yeah, I've tried to you know isolate myself, or assume, make it look as if everything was always okay. Because there was eight of us. I'm a family of eight, and my mom and
right,
dad had seven other kids to worry about. So I figured
right,
one less was better, but in reality, it was actually worse for me, because all the things that I've witnessed, um, and just what a lot of people consider like normal growing pains and normal, maturity. Um, I didn't have, because I isolated myself and dealt with all of that on my own, or attempted
right.
to.
At what age did you start to realize or think about something may be different about me compared to other people?
I really didn't know until I was about 12. My aunt took me to church, and I just remember the first time I was in church, I didn't really understand what was being said, but I knew I just kept crying, and I just kept crying. I just kept shedding all these tears. And my aunt was just like, for me then that was like something's wrong. My aunt just kept telling me like, it's okay, baby, like that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Let it flow, let it flow. And the more and more I built a relationship with the Lord, I started seeing certain things because I like people around me, I felt like I could always see their gifts outwardly. Like I have a brother who drew. I have a lot of people in my family are musically inclined. They sing. Um, I never felt like I could find my gift. And it was always, my gift was always, I felt tied to other people. And it wasn't until I was about 12 that I started realizing that there's certain things spiritually that I possess. But it all has to do kind of with emotion and that type of thing. So, once I got to the point where I wasn't afraid of it, I started being able to use it on my behalf.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned before about depression. Is this something that you've had? What have you been? Is it a diagnosis or are you self-diagnosing?
No, it's a diagnosis.
Okay.
Through trial and error, of course, because there's been some things labeled that just don't quite fit.
Right.
Right. But yes, I've been diagnosed, and it's the one that is probably the closest.
Okay. And so did you notice what made you start thinking or what made you start feeling depression? Like, can you describe it so people can understand what it is or what it could look like?
hmm So, I mean, it really kind of depends on your chemical makeup, how it hits you. But there are a lot of similarities. So, one of the things that I definitely know that brings on my depression is stress. Um, Not like normal, mother stress. We juggle four and five things at a time, but like overwhelming stress. So my first, what I consider episode was in college. So I was in college. I was taking like 18 credits, which everybody knows that's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had like four or five deaths in my family, like back to back. Um, and then I found out through a mutual friend that my cousin, who I grew up with, she was only like 4 years older than me, passed away, and I wasn't able to go to the funeral. And that like broke me. That was like the last straw. Like basically, the Lord was like, one thing I learned: if you don't take care of yourself, or if you don't stop and like shut down, He will shut you down. So that's what happened. Like it was just way too much going on, and
So when you say, let me ask you this, Kiana, when you say shut you down, what do you mean?
I mean, like, well, for me, it means like literally not being able to get out of bed, literally like feeling like walls are closing in on you. I've never gotten to the point where I felt like I was going to harm myself. I really believe that I was always too afraid to do that.
Hmm.
Because emotionally, I'm sure I would have been there. But because I have this thing about, you know, disappointing people, like I know that would have disappointed a lot of people, you
Right.
know. So I would never do that. But yeah, just like, where you just literally you can't you're going and going and going and going and yeah, every like people around you may see it and they're like, you need to slow down, you're doing too much, and then your body just stops.
And you were in college at this time.
Yes, I was in college.
Did you seek mental health treatment or did you think, oh, I'm a spiritual woman, I'm good, God got me, I'm gonna move on, I'm good?
Well, I had to. I literally had a breakdown. So they contacted my parents, and I came home for a year.
Okay.
I had to sign out. Like I literally couldn't function at that point.
Right. So then what happens after that? Did we
So
see
after that, I start treatment, daily treatment. I got on medication. I was going to therapy. But I was still like manifesting the physical symptoms. Like I was still isolating myself. I was really embarrassed for not being in college. So I didn't go anywhere besides like my medical appointments or having to go, somewhere. And it's odd because people don't back then they didn't pick up on that. Like I'm this outgoing, energetic person. I'm always, the life of the party, and yet I can't. I'm not. I won't leave the house. So, those were the type of signs and things that I was doing. But eventually, I weaned myself off of the medication, and then I went back to school.
What did your parents think when the school contacted them? Did they think, this girl tripping, or were they understanding about, okay, maybe she does got, we always put the in the front of in the front of illnesses. Maybe she does got the depression.
Right, right.
Maybe she
Well,
does got
yeah. Fortunately, like I said, I'm the baby of 8, so this wasn't the first time it hit the family. It
okay.
was the first time it hit me. So they were like, okay, here's another one. Pretty
Yeah.
much. Like,
Wow. So it's
and then
something they've
also,
seen before.
me being the baby, they knew what I saw, what I went through. They were in the house. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it wasn't a shock.
It wasn't a shock.
It was
All right.
kind of like, well, we wondered when this was going to happen. Like,
Wow.
yeah,
So depression is in the family, so people were able to recognize it, or mental illness or mental health is in the family, so they're able to recognize it. All right. So you said that you came home from school, medication, therapy, and everything, and then you weaned yourself off the medication.
yeah.
So what is that looking like? Weaning yourself off the medication. Do you think this is something that you should have did or not should have done?
Well, for me, I think that I should do, and I
And why did you
continually.
do it? And why did you wean yourself off of it?
Well, because you know, um, I know I have a chemical imbalance. Um, it's something that I was born with, and I've learned to adjust. When I'm totally imbalanced, and where I can't do therapy, I can't do alternative treatment, then I go to medication. If I know that I'm at a point where I'm imbalanced and I need a quick fix, the medication will do that. And it's still not quick, but it's quicker than just not doing it.
Right. So are you saying that the episodes have come back since college?
Oh, absolutely.
So if that's the case, you know, when people are diabetic and they got to take insulin, they can't just wean themselves off the insulin and hope the diabetes goes away.
Right.
So what made you feel like I'm going to wean myself off this medication, but then end up back on it again?
So I'm just that's a good point, and a good question. So I was in treatment the whole time. So the goal was always for me to wean off. Through me, my goal and also the medical, professionals because um just through blood work and everything, they were able to see that the levels were not to a point where I couldn't function without it.
Okay.
I functioned for 21 years without it.
I got
Um,
it.
so, they were able to see that it wasn't, and then with diet, with exercise, that was the reason they felt like that's why it held off so long because I was always so like active or outside. I was always running. I was always involved with some kind of program or something like that. So they kind of believe that that's why it didn't hit me till college. But just like people with diabetes, when you have a diet, you may not have to take insulin, but
Mhm.
when you start eating candy and drinking soda, then that
Right.
insulin spikes up. So
True.
it's the same thing with your mental
Okay.
health. No different.
Okay. I learned something new. I learned something new. Yes, that is true. People who even with high blood pressure, and there's several times when if you manage your diet and exercise and maintain your weight and things like that, they can possibly wean you off of the dosage or the high blood pressure medication completely. So that
Right.
is very true. I did not know that with mental health, it can do the same thing.
Yes.
I'm sure it's with different diagnoses as well. I'm sure if you have schizophrenia, more than likely you're not going to be able to wean yourself off that medication. But
Right.
something like depression, or maybe, I don't know, eating disorders. I'm not sure, but depression, probably mood disorders, you probably can with
Yeah.
that. So for 20 years, you were able to maintain without having an episode, or um to maintain without having an episode, or did something happen in between those 20 years?
Yeah. So, just normal life stress, trauma, with which we call it now. But the thing was that usually the onset of certain mental health doesn't hit you until certain times. So puberty is one of them. And so, sometimes, as women, we're just emotional beings. So it's kind of hard to diagnose someone with
Yeah,
depression, especially a child.
correct.
Um, but, it was, so basically the first onset wasn't until college.
And which is common, even with my daughter. I'm sure when I sit back and I think about some of the behaviors that she had as a child, I had no idea. Mental health wasn't even a thought for me. It wasn't even a thing. But when she got to college is when, and they usually say between 18 and 24 is
Hmm.
typically when you're able to notice, a mental health diagnosis, which is kind of unfortunate because I had a guest on early on when I started the podcast. She has a son, and she noticed at a very early age, like 2, 3, 4, 5, something's different with this child. Something's off. But no one would diagnose her son. No one. They kept saying he wasn't old enough. He wasn't old enough. He ended up being diagnosed as schizophrenia and sociopath, as he got older. But she recognized as a child, some ain't right. Now I don't know if they didn't want to diagnose because he was a little black child, or because sometimes we're not treated fairly, or they just did not want to diagnose a child if he wasn't killing nobody.
Yeah. I do believe that there's a lot of factors involved with that. I do think that race has something to do with it, because I like I said, I was misdiagnosed. There was one diagnosis as a schizoaffective, which, any anyone that has a stress related diagnosis could fall into a schizoaffective disorder category. So,
What's a
but
schizoaffective disorder? I know it, but people that are watching
yeah.
may not know what's schizoaffective.
So, schizoaffective is, in like layman's terms and as basic as possible, is it's basically when the stress level gets so high for a person that the way that they deal with it, they begin to appear and to show signs of a psychotic episode.
Yep.
So they're starting to do things that aren't considered normal. They're starting to act in ways that aren't normal, and not necessarily normal for society, but normal for them. So if you have someone who is very outgoing and now they are isolating themselves, that's a sign. If you have someone who normally, you know, is very, possessive over their belongings, and now they're giving them away, that's a sign.
Mm.
So, it's, but there, and I've noticed, I have some family that's in, the medical field. I've noticed that, that African Americans, people of color in general, tend to get diagnosed probably unproportionately more with um, diagnosis that have to do with violence, um, than like depression, or you know, um, because there's it's odd, because even though it's a disorder, they put people, the community puts disorders in the category. So, mental health itself is just what it is. It's just your mental health. But, you know, if you have someone with depression as opposed to someone who is schizophrenic, you may or may not be a little bit more receptive to the person that has depression, because in hindsight, the person in depression may not harm you. They will just harm themselves. Someone with schizophrenia may do both. So then
Exactly.
it's, right. So
Right.
it's like that fear but yeah. So for some reason that the negative connotation or the violent type of diagnosis
The
fall towards
schizophrenia.
us.
The
Mhm.
schizophrenia, schizoaffective. Um, and sometimes people who are in a schizoaffective disorder breakdown may have delusions, hallucinations,
Yes.
just things just they're just off. A lot of you might say, child, she done smoked some bad weed. Something went wrong. She done smoked some bad
Yeah,
weed.
that was
That
we heard
weed.
that a lot in college.
Woo,
I bet
that weed
more
got her
people had
tripping.
had mental health than we thought.
That weed got her
Or there's
tripping.
this girl, they start tripping. Yeah. Hmm.
She don't need to be on that ooh wee no more. That ooh wee got her tripping. And that's what and sometimes that's what it looks like. Sometimes that is what it looks like. And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that they are schizophrenic, that they have schizophrenia.
Right.
It's just sometimes an incident can happen that can cause your body to just respond to where you are having schizophrenia symptoms or
Right.
displaying schizophrenia symptoms, but you're not necessarily schizophrenic. So for you, they were saying that you had schizoaffective disorder.
Yeah.
They were trying to diagnose you with that. You didn't accept that diagnosis.
Well, at the time I didn't know any better. The problem was they gave me lithium and my body did not accept lithium at all. From the weight gain to like looking like a zombie to like being like the diagnosis of the have it was the amount was too high, like feeling like bugs were crawling on me, like things like that. Like it just did not connect with my body. So I knew that's one thing, I know my body. So I knew right away, like something's not right. If this is what you treat this with, then I don't have that. Like we need to, you know, we need to delve into some other things. So um, that they did tamper with um, postpartum because I lost a child. And I went through that, but that wasn't it was tied to the depression, but it wasn't the main factor. Um, and then the depression slash anxiety. But for years, like because depression and anxiety go together, they
Mm-hmm.
always said depression and anxiety. And I've never experienced anxiety that I knew of until I was in a depressive state and people would like trying to help would try to force me to do things like force me to go outside or force me to go to the store or something like that, and then
Yeah.
I would suffer from the anxiety then because I would be afraid that people could see that I was depressed.
Whoa. So you were thinking that people who know you are going to be able to see that you're depressed and you were
See,
afraid of that. Is it because
right, and even
you didn't want anybody to know that you were suffering with any type of mental health?
um just or suffering right at that moment because I still go through that. Like I still, well, the last episode that I had was probably like a year and a half ago, I would say, or
What
maybe
brought
like a year ago.
what
Um,
brought it on?
stress. Mine is always stress. It's always
Okay.
stress. It's always stress.
Okay.
Um, always stress for me. It's always stress. Yes, it's always stress. Like I can say that 1,000 times, and the easiest thing would be to decrease stress, but that is very hard. Um, it's very hard, especially when people around you bring stress to your life.
So you
So
said that you had an episode about a year ago. Did it require hospitalization, or was it something that you were able to recognize?
yeah, I was able to recognize. I called my doctor. That was actually the first time that I called my doctor and said I need medication. I can't do it by myself.
Mhm, mhm. So you
After
have
20 years of struggling.
20 years of struggling. That's a long time to
Hmm.
deal with. That's a long. I mean, and you got 20 more to go because this is a lifestyle for you. And so you have to
Right.
learn to manage your new normal. What's been your new it's been your new normal for a long time. You just been yo-yo teeter-tottering with it, doing the yo-yo effect with it, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And when it first hit me, like it hit me in college, but my next episode wasn't until my father died, which was 9 years ago. So I had a breakdown in college. I went back to college, graduated college, weaned myself off medication, and was not medicated. I went through therapy and different things, but I didn't have a breakdown till 2015. And I
Okay.
graduated college in, when did I graduate college? 1997.
Okay. So that's a big gap. So you were able to manage it all that time. All right. But then the
Yes. And I,
anxiety,
and I had stress because I worked for Parole at the time. I worked for Parole, so I had stress.
yeah, that's stressful in itself. Any law enforcement job. Well, there's a lot of jobs that's stressful. There's a lot of jobs that are stressful. So, how was your husband and your family um coping while you were going through breakdowns and things like that? Or did they know?
Um, I'd say they didn't, but they did. I tried to hide it from my children, but they knew.
They knew.
And my
Yeah,
husband, he didn't. When I met him, I told him about my situation,
mhm.
um, and what I suffered from. But he's never experienced it. He's not from here. He's never been around anybody that had mental health that he knew of until over the years, now that we've been married 15 years. So through him seeing my ups and downs and now understanding it, he sees that he actually was around people that were dealing with mental health. They just didn't call it that where he
Yeah.
was from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So now that he's supportive, of course, because he's still here. But I'm
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, he's
yeah,
absolutely supportive.
yeah. So you tell me about the year ago, the last episode a year ago.
Um, that was. I'm trying to think of actually what happened. It was stress again. Of course, that's my MO. It was stress, and it
Oh, look,
always
look,
like
this
hit,
this must
hits
be him.
me. I don't see
Hold
it
on, girl.
coming.
Hold on, girl. This must be him because he's correcting you 16 years, boo.
Oh, yeah, that's my baby. Yeah, it's 16 years now that yeah, since August.
He
I'm
done
sorry, we just
corrected
had an
you.
anniversary.
Go ahead. Now that's
Yeah,
funny.
they don't get that memory loss for some reason
See,
when
look,
they get older. I'm
and I
like,
wouldn't
wait a
even
minute
know.
now.
I would not have known that was him until he
Yeah,
said that
that's him.
16 years. I said, "Oh, this must be your husband." Honey, talking about some, he
Yeah, get it
corrected me
right, man. 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah, so
So, what happened that year ago? What brought it on? I know you said stress. What was
Mm-hmm.
going on during that time that, I mean, because you got some nice gaps in between the breakdowns. You got some good gaps in between them breakdowns. So what was it? What did you recognize? And what did you do?
So now in the last, so I did have a break. Like I had a big gap, but in the last, so since 2000, since 2020, I've had like reoccurring breakdowns
Hmm.
to where it went from depression to like a clinical depression.
Yeah.
So yeah, so besides this last year, since 2020, I've probably gone through it twice a year, and it's like 6 months. So I'm down 6 months, and then I'm up, and then
Wow.
the new year starts, and then I'm down, and then I'm up.
Wow. Are you
Yeah.
down to where
So
are
I
you
wasn't
down to where you're not able to
right.
work?
I wasn't sure if it was age because it was stress happening, but not that much. Not like what I was used to, the amount of stress. So I think age has something to do with it because it started coming more often. Like I was like saying to my husband, like something's not right because like this seems like wasn't I just in a depression? Like I literally couldn't keep track of when it was last. It was just happening to me, and I was just in it.
What was that looking like?
Being down, not able to, function for, 6 months and then get better and then, clean up all the pieces from 6 months. Um, the ironic thing though is that I was able to work this
Yeah.
time. Like
Mhm.
I was able to work, but I worked from home. So all I had to
Mm.
literally do was get out the bed, which was hard. But once I got out the bed, I was able to, like function. And then with my medication, like going up or down, I was able to think and process. And then the more I was using my brain, it was easier to process. But I would be exhausted when I got off of work.
Mm. Wow. So every 6 months, so 6 months since 2020, pandemic, that might have played a little role in it too,
Hmm.
because unlike Georgia, the other states shut down. Georgia did not. Georgia did not shut down during the pandemic.
Yeah, we
Uh,
shut down. Yeah,
but other states,
yeah,
I mean, we were still going to get our hair done. I mean, we was out living our best life. um, right. Uh, but other states shut down, and that could have played a part in it as well. So 6 months on, 6 months
yeah,
off, 6 months on, 6 months off, 6 months on. So and it's 2024. Are we still
right.
going? Are we still
So
6 months
last
on, 6 months off? Or are we doing better?
doing better. So last year, at some point, I just was like, enough's enough. And that's when told the doctor, I can't do it. I need help. Um, but at that point, I didn't let it go. So the part of my problem is, or part of my cycle, I won't say my problem, but my cycle is that I have I have a support system, so they know, which is my immediate family, my household. So they know what it looks like when I'm in it. They also shelter me, which is could be good or bad, but in my situation, it's good because it allows me to do what I can do and not feel bad about not being able to do what I can't. Um, and they can fill in. My son cooks, my husband cooks, so it's like they know how to fill in.
Mhm.
Um, but I basically was like, I can't do this to my son. Like, I can't do this to my baby. Like, my older two kids are older. Um, 6 months at a time, that's too much. So
Yeah.
at like 3 months, I was like, I can't do it anymore. And I went to the doctor and got meds, and I was like back. My sister, she's in the medical field. She does works with psychiatry, and um, so she was able to help me through that process. She would come over daily, and just like my meds just were not. It took about 6, 7 weeks to click. So
Yeah.
she was like watching me while I'm like there, keeping me company, watching me, that type of thing, making sure I
Yeah.
got up and worked and all that. And every day just got easier. And that was about a year ago. So if I'm correct, like my husband could tell me, I don't think I've had another one since. Yeah. But
Okay.
I've had the stress, believe me, like
Yeah.
bam.
But that's life. So it's life be life, and
People,
like
woo,
stress is always a part of life. It's how you manage it is
right,
what there's nothing as long as you keep living, it's gonna be something. Like
right,
it's just designed that way. And it's all about how you perceive the obstacles that come your way, on how you're gonna get
right,
through it, right? You gotta
right,
talk to those
right,
obstacles to move them out of your way. You gotta talk your brain into believing everything's gonna be okay. Okay, this is happening to me right
right,
now, but it's gonna be okay. As they say,
right.
this too shall pass.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
does. I mean, for the most
And
part,
I've learned that. I will say in the last 2 years, even though I still went through a depression, I can literally say that my walk with God has transformed. Like
yes.
I'm aware of my spiritual gifts. I'm aware that I'm an empath. I'm aware of the limitations I have to set on myself, or I will bring other stress into my life. And I've been doing that.
That's
I've
good.
been doing that with my spiritual family. I have a group that I attend, you know, my husband, my kids, my friends. So it's, I've learned, I've learned.
Let's talk about Women Supporting Women LLC.
Can you say that again?
Let's talk about Women Supporting Women LLC. How did that come about?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what is it and how did that come
Um,
about?
so originally I piggybacked. There was an organization here in York that was doing walks, and it was gentlemen at first, and then they had created a subset, and they called it Women's Circle. And basically, women would get together, and we, be in a circle, and we'd like listen to each other, talk about our problems, our issues, whatever came up. Um, and that kind of disintegrated. And then, myself and a few other people that were involved in the women's circle started getting together. We started doing walks, and the walk, the mental health walks evolved out of that. Um, the other part of Women Supporting Women is just part of what I did through my work. I worked at Housing Authority for, I believe, 5 years,
Mhm.
doing self-sufficiency program. So I had developed a few programs there, driver's ed, GED for the residents. So I learned, through the years how to do medical applications, medical assistance applications. So those are some of the services that I provide through my business also.
Oh, that's amazing. And this is only in your area, of course, right? Or has it expanded?
Yes,
Oh,
yes. It's in my area just because I'm here, but if anybody ever needs help, like, and I'm available.
yeah,
Now with Zoom, you can reach anyone that needs assistance. But what
absolutely.
I do is that, right. The LLC part of it is like a lot of times in York we have organizations that will have you come and speak to a group of women or have you mentor a group of women or do resumes with a group of women, and that's where the fee comes in. But all of those services I also provide free of charge
Okay.
to anyone in the community that needs that support.
How do people find you? Is it on Facebook, or I remember you did tell me Facebook, so I got that on the screen. But how do people find you? They wanted your services.
Yes, on Facebook, it's Women Supporting Women LLC, and you could put York, PA, Pennsylvania in. Also, my email, Duncan Kiyona at yahoo.com.
Okay.
And anyway, you can connect through
Yeah.
you, through anyone that they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like you've done a lot of service work like your whole life.
Yes, that's what keeps me going. I mean,
Yeah.
I love people. I love what I do. I mean, like it's a joy, like to be able to help people. It's really not service to me. Like sometimes I have to stop. We have to document our service hours, and it's like I forget doing that because I mean the service is what I do. That's my
Yeah.
life. So it's
Yeah.
like sometimes I forget that that's a service. I'm just it makes me feel good to help people that don't feel good or that
Exactly.
need a little push. And I've been fortunate enough that I've never really, like, in general, I don't want to jinx myself, but in general, like really really struggled where I couldn't live or I didn't have somebody assisting me to help me live or take care of my
Yeah.
children or whatever.
Yeah.
So anything that I can do, to support somebody. And a lot of times these are temporary situations. Somebody just needs they just need a little boost. They just need a
Little
little,
push.
you know,
A little help.
little push,
A
or
little help.
somebody holding her hand the first week of
Yeah.
work, or, somebody pick up the kids, something, just something, you
A little
know.
help. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we all need a little help from time to time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we all need. Do you all still do the walk?
Yes. Now this
The summer
summer,
walk?
I will say
The
was
summer walk?
was heck, like it wasn't as structured. Normally, it's every Sunday after church at 10 a.m. We meet at a local park and we walk around the park. But I had so much going on with my church, and then I started school, and so it was very sporadic this year. I did more events. I held an event for women who lost their children
Mhm.
um, to either violence or to, just lost their children. So we did one of those events. So just trying to do more community events because some people just they don't want to walk, or they don't want to share their life, with people they don't know. So just trying
Right,
to find other avenues where other people feel supported
right. Are these the events that you were talking about? Are these in person or on Zoom?
in person.
In person. Okay.
Yeah,
It's kind of
yeah,
it seems like you have like a support group. It's more like a support
yeah.
group.
And that's why the name is Women Supporting Women. Because it is my focus is women, but as you know, like women, we're the mothers, but we're also the wives. So a lot of those things trickle down to the family. So
Yeah,
anything that we can do to support the family, we do.
yeah.
But I have a lot of support. Like the last event I had, I mean, even the DJ, like one of the DJs in York, he donated equipment. He donated his son. They spent, people donated food. Like we feed people. We had gift bags. Like it was beautiful, and people were able to tell their story. We cried, we laughed, and we had a plan. So
Yeah.
it was beautiful. It was wonderful. And that relieves stress even though I do so much and it's like, well, you're doing this again, you're putting more stress on you, that relieves stress for me. Like it helps me relieve some of the stress that I have on me or that I put on me also.
Yeah, because you're helping people. It feels good. It's satisfying when you get an opportunity to help somebody who you have a gift, the ability to put something together to support other women. And because you're connected to it, it gives you gratification. It makes you feel good knowing that your gift is to be able to
Yeah.
help other women. So of course, it might be
Yeah.
stressful putting the event together, but once it comes together, you're good to go. You happy. You're happy. That's your call. That's your gift.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your gift. So we got about 5 minutes left. I mean, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you sharing. I think that, there's such a huge stigma on mental health, and people believe that people can't function when they're diagnosed with mental health or mental illness. Like they can't, other people believe that they can't function, or even people who are diagnosed feel like, I can't function, but you clearly are functioning. Yes, there's been some hiccups along the way, which is normal. I remember when I
Hmm.
got diagnosed with having high blood pressure, and the first time they gave me the medication, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take it for a minute. And I didn't like the way it made me feel, so I stopped taking it. But then I got sick again. And then I went back in and they gave me a different prescription. And I didn't like that prescription either. So I stopped taking it. And then I went back in and got another
Yeah.
prescription. And so, it took a minute to get the dosage correct, to get the type of blood pressure medication correct. Um, it took a while to get all of that together, right? So I had hiccups along the way. But now that I got it all together, I can function. It's the same thing with mental health and mental
Yeah.
illness. When you get a diagnosis, yes, it's a chemical imbalance going on. The brain is just another muscle in the body. That's all it is. There's no,
Yeah.
it's the best, one of the best, but besides the heart. But the brain is
Yeah.
it's just another muscle in the body, and sometimes it's off a tad bit. And God has given people the ability to prescribe and to educate and to give you some therapy and some tools to help you get your chemicals back in order. It's nothing different. And I just hate the fact that people stigmatize it so much and don't deal with what they have going on. I hate that.
Yeah.
I do. What type of advice or words of encouragement would you give people that hold on, let me show Landon's message. Brooklyn movie came to mind when she said her husband was able to identify that in people in his hometown. Yep, yep. We don't know till we know. I think that people do not understand mental health and mental illness fully until it's in their till they experience it themselves, not necessarily personally going through the illness, but living with someone. A lot of people will say, well,
Right.
if she's just depressed, I mean, if she just stressed, well, just stop doing this and that'll stop the stress. I mean, what you mean she won't get out the bed? How come she won't get out the bed? I mean, what's the problem? Girl, get your stuff together, get your life, get your stuff together. People don't really know until till they're in it with you, or it's their child, or it's their
Right.
mother, or it's their grandmother. They don't realize it until they're in it. And when you're in it and you see it and you're like, shoot, I'm not gonna treat my wife like crap because she's going through something. I mean, what kind of person would I be? What kind of husband would I be? But then when he realizes, like, oh my God, I've been around this my whole life and I didn't even know what it was.
Hmm.
So it's true. That is very true, Landon. Thank you so much for that. But we have about a minute or so left. Do you have like any closing remarks or any encouraging words or anything like that you want to share?
Yes, I would just say, my spiritual journey is one next to I wouldn't trade for the world. So, I work on myself daily. Um, and there's certain things that I can't control. I can't control, you know, how my makeup is. I can't control, when I say makeup, like my mind.
Hmm.
I can't, control that I'm, less balanced than, the average. But what I can control is, how I react and how I adjust my life and how I adjust the things that I do. And that's what I'm doing. That's my daily work. That's my daily purpose. Um, and then it's also to spread the word. Like I'm, no longer ashamed. I could talk about mental health forever to anyone, because it's not I'm not ashamed of it. And I think that people who deal with it every day have to get to a point where they themselves are no longer ashamed, so that we can, start testifying and making it a bigger um platform. No longer will I, blame those around me for my mental health. It's it's my job, it's my purpose, and it's my responsibility, with God's help, to take care of myself and to make sure that I'm available for everyone that loves me.
Yeah. What would you recommend to a person that is experiencing what you're experiencing and they're ashamed of it or don't want
Mhm.
to acknowledge it? What would you recommend?
So if you are to the point, if you are right now unable to get out of bed, I do recommend that you call a professional. Absolutely. There's helplines. There's, you can call 911. I really recommend that, because you have to get to a point where you can at least have a conversation and understand what's happening. If you're not there, you can't go to therapy, you can't journal, you can't do anything else. If you're not in that situation, but you're sad and it's last more than 2 weeks, then you need to see a professional.
Absolutely.
Start journaling daily, start exercising, watch what you put into your mouth. It affects your mind. And just know that this is a journey. It's a journey, and I'm gonna be here with you to the end if you need me.
Yeah, it is a journey. I appreciate you. Thank you, Kiana. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, love. And I'm so glad I met you, my new sister.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey, y'all, like I said in the beginning of the show, I didn't ask for this journey. I didn't even know what it was. I had no idea what I was experiencing and what I was going through. But this is something that God has put in my family. He's put it in my life. He's gotten me to recognize my own shortcomings when it comes to my own mental health and things like that. And so he's given me the task of sharing my story and allowing people to share their stories too, because the goal is to remove the stigma from mental health so people are willing to receive the treatment that they need so they can function and live a normal, healthy, happy life. So that's why I'm here. This is why I do what I do. So I ask you all to subscribe, like, and share. Subscribe, like, and share. You got to do all three. Subscribe, you got to like, then you got to share it with somebody. Um, if you want to ever be a guest on the show, or if you know someone that would like to be a guest on the show, you can hit me up on all my social media platforms. I am Mission for Mental Health on Instagram, Mission for Mental Health on Facebook. You can inbox me, DM me, you can text me, you can do whatever it is that you need to do to reach out. Just let me know. I would love to have you as a guest. I would love for you to share, not just people who are going through their own mental health journey, but I also like therapists on the shows to educate us, to let us know what we're talking about. Because I don't have a degree in this. I got a couple degrees, but there ain't none of them in mental health. So I love to have professionals on the show as well. And I always try to, I started doing this because I started to get concerned that if I didn't let people know that there was help out there, that I'd be doing people a disservice. So if you or someone you know is struggling or is in a crisis, help is available. You can call or text 988. You can chat at 988lifeline.org. You can also reach the crisis line by texting hello to 741-741. But 988 is like the absolute way to go. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you all in another week. Like I said, if you want to be a guest, let us know. Kiyona, stand by. I'm going to close out the show, and I will talk to you all later. You all have a blessed one. Talk to you later. I just love doing my show. I just love doing this. Talk to you later. Bye bye.